to have her. We know Ms. Stewart has done such a wonderful job. It's about running the family, right? All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Thornton, and please make sure you give her your undivided attention. Let's show her what we're about, Litchfield, because we are so glad to be here. I'm so honored to speak to you all. I am a school psychologist. Has anyone ever heard of a school psychologist? Okay. So, can everyone in the back hear me? Okay? Not? Okay, thank you. So, being a school psychologist, I work with a number of students who have difficulties sometimes, which we all do. That's just part of life, right? We all go through different things. We all deal with anger, frustration, hurt, disappointment. We all have those issues, those challenges throughout our lives because we're human, right? Can I get an amen here? Yeah. So, okay, let's regroup. So part of what I do also is I work with students and I interview students to find out how they deal with difficult situations, which is called resiliency. Learning how to bounce back through difficult times is something that we all have to learn how to deal with, because as human beings, we're going to experience some of those negative aspects of life. But the key to life is learning how to move through uncomfortable spaces. So that's what we're going to talk about this afternoon. I titled this Resilience, Tapping into the Chain Breaker Within You, because each and every one of you are chain breakers in this room. Let me see all eyes, because I want to give you everything that I have, but I also need you to give me what you have in a positive way, because we have something to give to each other, and we exist as a community. So I'm not good if you all aren't good. We got that? Okay, all right, thumbs up, we got it? We got it. All right, chain breaker. So when you think about a chain, what do you think about? You think about shackles, you think about being bound, right? So think about chains and think about how it is that you sometimes behave in a certain way that's not good for you. How sometimes you think about things that really aren't good for you. How you act in certain ways is just not the best of who you are, right? Right? Okay. So as part of that, learning how to move through difficult times is realizing when you need to make changes in your life. So that's what we're going to do this afternoon. There are 5 things that I want you to remember when you are trying to tap into the chain breaker that is within you. 5 things. So the first thing, and we have it on your sheet. What's the first thing? Communication. Communication. You have to learn how to tell yourself the absolute truth first. And I'm talking about asking yourself those tough questions. When you have messed up, when you are going through a rough period, you have to ask yourself, how did I get in this situation? What is it that I need to change within me? Because it's not about the other person. It's about some of the things that you need to work on as well, to be better, to do better, to think better, to act better, to live better ultimately. Because if you're going to be college and career ready, you have to learn how to communicate. And I'm talking about telling the truth even when it's uncomfortable. So, telling the truth to yourself first. That's step 1. Then you can tell the truth to other people. Now, I say tell the truth to other people, but I'm saying it so that you all will do it in a loving manner. Because sometimes we show up, and we show up with the attitudes and the, the pain, the hurt, the frustration, which is not really who you are, right? But it's who you show yourself as. So, communication. Tell yourself the truth, tell others the truth. Ask yourself those tough questions. And I really want you to get something from it. So, tell me what the second thing is. Help me out, because I don't have my PowerPoint. I don't have things up, so I'm asking for your assistance. Community. All right, so community. Become a part of your community. So your community, the beauty of community, and I'm talking about your home, your school, and your neighborhood, is when you are learning to deal with difficult situations, your community can support you. So your community members in your family, in your neighborhood, in your school community, those are the people difficult situations. Get involved in your community in a positive way. Programs that you can get involved with would be Big Brothers Big Sisters, Alchemy that is here, Boys and Girls Club, Outward Bound programs, sporting events, sporting activities, extracurricular activities, all those things will support you when you are going through challenging moments, and you will go through challenging moments. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And you are at an age now where you can make choices for yourself that are beneficial and as an outcome. So the process of resilience, the process of bouncing back, of moving through difficult situations is making sure you have a number of protective factors in your life. Now, what are protective factors? Protective factors are just that, things that protect you. So your school, your family, your community, all those things will support you as you go through life. But you have to show up, you have to be involved with it in a positive way. So, let's use this as an example. How many of you have ever studied really hard for a test or in a class and you didn't pass the class, or you did pass that test? Let's go with the test, okay? My hand is raised too. So how did you study for that test? Did you absolutely put your best into it? You did your best. Okay, so you did all the homework assignments. You took the quizzes. You asked questions. Okay. So as we're talking about these things, that's the process. The process is all the actions, every single step that you took to prepare for that test. So what happened when you didn't pass the test? What happened? Were you frustrated? Were you disappointed? Were you angry? Okay, so how did you get through it? You talked to your family? You talked to your mom? You talked to your friends? No, you just dealt with it? Okay, so let me help. When you have a situation in which you have put your all into it and you're so upset, you don't know what else to do, use the resources around you. The people you see in this room, the adults that you see, your peers, your family members, your friends out in the community, they can all support you when you are trying to work through the disappointment and the frustration. All those things that make you feel nasty inside because you're like, oh God, I didn't do what I needed to do. I didn't pass it, but I put forth all this effort, but you don't give up. That's the bottom line. You try again. So your protective factors will help you when you're moving through these difficult spaces. So that's one piece of it. The other piece that I really want you all to get is it doesn't matter what you deal with in life. There's always room for you to grow. There's room for you to learn something new. There's room for you to do something differently, to think differently. Can you come help me? You're right here in the front. That way you don't have to climb on people. But just come help me. I need some help. Come support me. Come be my protective factor. What is a chain breaker? Can somebody recap for me real quick? Hand. Stand for me loud. You all know when you do something and it doesn't feel good, right? And you're like, gosh, I could have done better. Why did I act in that way? Has everybody had a moment like that? Because I've had that kind of moment. Come on, show me something, because I know y'all have. Everybody in this room should have their hand raised. Because we all experience that. Where you're like, wow, I know better than this. I know that I can show up better than this. We talked about communication. Telling the truth to yourself, telling the truth to other people, asking yourself the tough questions. We talked about community. Get involved in your community in a positive way. It will serve you well, it will serve your community. Get involved in extracurricular activities, sports, whatever you need to help support you, do that. Number 3, actually number 2 was connection. So we're going to go back to connection. Connection is about establishing relationships with people who bring out the best in you. I'm going to say that again. Connection, and I'm not talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram connections, because those things, you show your representative. That's not the authentic you. That's not you who hurts, who cries, who deals with negative life events. I'm talking about the you at the core of your being, connecting. I see you. Do you see me? I like you. Do you like me? Do you get me? Do you love me? Do you appreciate me? That's what I'm talking about, connection. Connection is probably the most powerful aspect of learning to be a chain breaker, because as you connect with people, those people will then later nurture you as you need to be nurtured. But you gotta what? Tell the truth first. You gotta connect with the community, and you have to connect with yourself. Communication, connection, community, creativity is number 4. How many of you write poetry or sing, dance? Okay, so we have a lot of performers here. So the beauty of creativity is using your imagination to solve problems, expressing yourself through some artistic way. That will serve you well for all of your days if you have an outlet where you can actually use writing, you can paint, you can sing, you can dance. Any one of those activities is a good way to release any negative emotions that you may be experiencing. Because the key is you're going to experience these difficult times. It's just a matter of having all the resources that you need to get through it. That's what life is about. And you all are learning something that I wish I had learned 20 years ago, but I didn't. It took me about 40 years, but that's okay. But you all are getting it early, so my suggestion is make changes that will serve you well now to live a better, healthier life. And I'm talking healthier mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay? All right, number 5, commitment. How many of you have ever given up on something? This piece of commitment is about you staying focused on whatever the goal is. So if your goal is to, say, make the basketball team, or make the football team, or get an A in a class that has been difficult for you, you have to stay committed. And I'm talking committed even when you don't always know how to get through it, you're focused on getting through it. And guess what? When you make that commitment and you express yourself and you tell someone else, you tell a mentor, you tell someone else to support you, then you have this goal in mind. Guess what? They will support you in reaching that goal. But you have to stay committed. Because guess what? If you give up, they're going to give up. If you all don't get nothing else today, I want you to get that the chain breaker, the ability to break patterns and break mindsets and behaviors that do not serve you well lives in each and every one of you. Everybody in this room has the potential to be better, to do better, to act better, to think better, to perform better. Everybody does, but the key to it is learning how to move through uncomfortable spaces, learning how to communicate your needs in an appropriate manner, learning how to use your creativity to problem solve, learning how to connect with each other genuinely, and really respecting each other, respecting yourself as well as others. The other piece of this is to set a positive vision for yourself. Does anybody do a vision board? Has anybody ever created a vision board for themselves where you put pictures up of things that you desire and goals you want to set? Anybody? Okay, so if you focus your mind on something positive, on a goal that you have, even if you don't always believe that you can get it, but you see it every day, and a little part of you is like, look, I love that thing. I love cars. That's my thing. I love the Porsche Cayenne. I love the Tesla. I can't afford them, but I have a vision board with them on there because one day, just maybe, I'll be able to afford them. It doesn't have to be materialistic things, but it could be a book that you want to read. It could be a diploma or a degree that you want to attain. You just have to focus on something that is positive to get you through those rough times. But this last point I want to be real clear about, because as we were coming in, and I have to address it because as an educator, I'm concerned and I want to make sure that whatever I bring to students is the absolute best, and I want to receive that. And there was a little, some pushing and all that good stuff, and I know you all can show up better. So at any given time that you choose, you can do something different. You can be positive. You can switch how you perceive things. You can act in a more appropriate manner. And then some people actually apologize, and that was some good stuff too, and I love that. But as I look out and I see you all truly are our future. You hear it all the time. But if you don't get yourselves together, what does that mean for society? Because we're all a community, we're in this together. You can't succeed without me succeeding, and I can't succeed without you succeeding. So keep in mind, in order to be a change breaker and to really make some positive changes in your lives and in your community, you can always do something differently. Any questions? Okay, so the question up front with my assistant was, how did I learn how to do this? So are you interested in like college too? Or just, okay, so I grew up in Akron. I am a graduate of Central High School. I went to David Hill Elementary, I went to Roswell Kent Middle School, and graduated from Central. I grew up in a single parent household. There were 5 of us. I am the youngest of 5. Money was tight. My mother worked overtime. Our parents divorced, so it was rough. But what got me through was people around me. I was involved in Upward Bound. I was involved in the National Honor Society, and I had some wonderful family, extended family, teachers, principals who really guided me along the way. I ended up going away to college. I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C., and I struggled my first year. I struggled to believe in myself because I had always did my best, but I was a biology major, and biology really wasn't a good fit for me, but I didn't understand that until I failed 3 different times. And I'm talking failed terribly, with a tutor, with all types of support. And one of the things it forced me to do was think about what makes me happy. What am I good at? I'm not good at biology. I don't need to be a biology major, but what has sparked something in me? And it was psychology. I love thinking about how people behave, why we act in certain ways, why we think certain things. And that was part of the healing process for me, was changing my major. I always loved education. I knew I wanted to be involved with students because education, and I know you all probably haven't really thought about this much, but education will be your ticket out of whatever situation you may find yourself in. Even if you are dealing with a subject that is not of interest to you, get invested in it because there is some part of your brain that needs to learn that material. When you are growing and learning something new, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, because you're using your mind and your body in a different way in some instances. But the bottom line is you can get through it, but you have to believe, number one, that you can. And even if you don't believe it completely, you have to reach out to other people and say, you know, I'm struggling with this subject, I need some assistance. Once you start telling yourself the truth on that level, it makes all the change in the world possible. So if no one has told you up until this point that you have the potential to be, which I know people have because I know some of the people in the building, but you have the potential to be anything you want to be, but you have to stick with it, you have to show up differently, and you just have to be 100% committed to whatever the goal is.